Welcome to Dawn of the New Earth. I'm excited about today's topic. We are talking about the Golden Dawn, an extremely influential secret society that had a major impact and continues to have a major impact to this day on the Western esoteric tradition, with a plethora of highly influential members. And it is a system of magic, a magical order that discusses high magic, ceremonial magic. And we are going to be talking about what this order was, what it does, and everything about it, from the good to the bad, from the mysterious decoded manuscripts known as the cipher manuscripts, to contact with the supposedly ascended beings known as the secret chiefs, to their practical work in transforming the self and transforming the soul. It's going to be very interesting. And I'm excited about talking about this with you guys, because this is the first time we talked a little bit about Satanism and satanic magic, but I gave you my reasons as to why I don't really care for that form of magic. And if you practice that, that's fine. That's completely up to you. It's just not something I'm very partial to. Now, when we're getting into high magic or ceremonial magic, this is some very powerful stuff. And I've been wanting to talk about this stuff because this is the first time on this channel that we're really delving into occult topics like this that deal with secret societies. And I've always been interested in doing this on this channel because I'd like to go through it with you guys, because for the reason that there's a lot of interesting information in it, but it's filled with a lot of manipulation as well. And you have to be very careful. And you'll see exactly what I mean, because there's a lot of shadowy elements going on as well. So we're going to be diving into this. It's going to be really good. And we're going to get started right away. But as always, please like and subscribe. And hey, if you enjoy my work and you want to help my channel grow and help me reach more people with this important information, then become a member on Patreon or YouTube. And if you hit the join button right here on YouTube below the video, you can see all the different things you can get access to, our members only videos, our Discord server. Check out the different tiers. Check it out. And it helps out a lot. I really appreciate it. Finally, I want to remind you that my new book is out now. It just came out on Thursday. It is Teleocracy, Creating the New Earth. And this is all about taking our knowledge of the universe and reality as an interconnected mind, as the universe coming to know itself through itself, and applying it to the real world. How to create the Earth in our image, how to create a teleocratic planetary civilization where the purpose is to increase the quality of life for every individual in the collective. So that's out right now. Just came out. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, begin with my first book, Neogenesis, Dawn of the New Mind. The links to all my books are in the description of this video. And in the description of this video, you will also find a link to my Spotify channel where you can watch this on Spotify, listen to this on Spotify as well. And it's a very helpful way to consume this information. All right, but enough of that. We are talking about the Golden Dawn. And first of all, like I said, the Golden Dawn is a secret society. It is a magical order, an order of ceremonial magic or high magic. Now, the difference between ceremonial magic, high magic, and low magic is the fact that what high magic is about, it's about the evolution of the self and the connection to the divine. And some would say contacting higher powers, but what exactly that means is arguable. So the Golden Dawn is a magical order, and it's a system of high magic or ceremonial magic. What high magic is about transforming the self, transforming the soul, connecting with the divine, expressing one's divinity, and some would say contacting higher powers. But what those higher powers are and what they mean is a matter of nuance that we will be discussing. But it's all about transformation, growth, that alchemical process of turning base metal into gold, but rather transforming the soul from a base state to a fully divine and expressed state. That's high magic. That is ceremonial magic. That is different from what's known as low magic or practical magic. Low magic or practical magic is about things that you would more associate with everyday life, like making money, finding love, relationships, things of that nature. So ironically, most people are more interested in low magic or practical magic. They're like, oh, I want to learn a spell to make money, or I want to learn how to, attract love in my life, etc. But the interesting thing about this is that it really takes a strong knowledge and foundation in high magic and ceremonial magic to understand really what magic is and thus be successful at low magic or practical magic. It's kind of like if you imagine a flashlight, and this is just a quick analogy that came to my head. If you imagine a flashlight and that beam of light kind of being like practical magic, ceremonial magic is sort of like, or high magic is like the batteries. You need to have the batteries to increase your power for the effectiveness of these things to work. So most people are more interested in practical things. Oh, how can I make money? How can I find love? When really high magic and ceremonial magic is what will ultimately give you the evolution and transformation, the power for other things to be successful. And real quick, I just want to say, if you are new to my channel and you're like, why the heck are you talking about magic? I have a very specific interpretation of magic. Magic, it has nothing to do with anything that's irrational or crazy or like summoning demons or anything like this. It's about understanding how to transform yourself and transform reality through manipulating the way that reality works. And we can understand rationally how this is possible. Like I said, it's not woo-woo or crazy. I'm against all that. But we'll be unpacking this as we go through. And that's another thing. Like I said, this is the first time that we're really getting into strong magical topics. We did a little bit with Satanism, but we're really getting into it more here. And I will say right off the bat, it can seem confusing at first. So just go with it. It will all fall into place as we explain it and as we explore it together. So let's just start. Let's just dive into it. Now, what I'm going to tell you, what we're going to explore today when it comes to the Golden Dawn and this secret society, this magical order, what we're going to explain today is more about what it is, how it began, who was involved, how it's structured, etc. Now, that being said, what we will do later, if you guys want this sort of thing, is actually explore the magic itself, which to me, personally, I'm much more interested in. A lot of people are more interested in the conspiracy kind of aspects of it, like, oh, how it was structured, these secret cipher manuscripts, the secret chiefs and all that, which we're going to talk about. But that's what most people are interested in. Personally, I'm more interested in the actual application of the different techniques that they were teaching. And so that's what we will explore later if you guys are interested in it. Today, we're just laying out like a broad overview of how the system began, who was involved, etc. So like I said, let's just get started. Let's get right into it. So I'm going to be rereading from a couple different sources as we explore this. One is on grunge.com from an article called The True Story of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And we'll also might be reading just a little bit from encyclopedia.com that has information on the Golden Dawn. So when was the Golden Dawn founded? This is a fairly old order. It's not an ancient order, however. It was founded in London in 1887. So in London in 1887, there began the formation of a secret society known as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Its purpose was the practice of magic, the study of the occult, and the secret engagement with the paranormal. All activities that had the potential to scandalize the predominantly Christian society of Victorian England. So this system was geared towards, and remember when it says that this is a magical order, what ultimately is the purpose of a magical order? The transformation of the self and society. And you know me, I've talked about this before. I'm not a huge fan of how secret societies operate. And we'll be talking about that because it can often lead to a lot of manipulation, which absolutely occurred in the Golden Dawn, in my opinion, which we'll be talking about. However, usually the goal of a secret society, especially a magical order, is the transformation of the self and transformation of the world. Doesn't necessarily mean it's positive or a good thing. It depends on the aims of this society and how the society operates. And so this was the goal. And this was taking place in Victorian England when in the middle of a predominantly Christian society. So you can see how in there may have been a need for secrecy in times like that, and in times like those. Today, we no longer need that. Right? It's not like we're being persecuted or burned at the stake or anything like that. This secrecy is no longer something that is required. Back then, yeah, it's excusable because it was necessary to be able to operate in a Christian-dominated society. But anyway, it says by the turn of the century, the organization would count among its members some of the most prominent artists and intellectuals of the day, all partaking in esoteric practice of ritual magic. And so who are some of these, who were some of their more famous members? So there was William Butler Yeats. There was MacGregor Mathers, who was one of the founders. Aleister Crowley. A.E. Waite, who you'll probably know from the Rider-Waite tarot deck. And many others, such as that have been rumored to be part of, like Bram Stoker, the author of Dracula, has been rumored to be one of their members as well. So they had a especially for the time, a lot of prominent artists and intellectuals of the day. So this is another thing to understand, is that what is going on here is some very powerful stuff. And as you can see, usually individuals who are attracted to these sorts of things are artists and intellectuals of a high caliber. It's this isn't, and this is why it's sometimes difficult to talk about magic, because people don't really understand what it is. And it's become synonymous with like, oh, crazy woo-woo sort of stuff. But we'll be unpacking, maybe not in this video, but in future videos, if you guys want it, what it actually means and how it actually works. And you're going to see it's very powerful stuff dealing with accessing the power of the unconscious and archetypes, which didn't even get around to the realm of psychology until Carl Jung really came out with his theory of the collective unconscious and archetypes. But these systems were operating long before that. But anyway, let's continue here. So there was a lot of infighting and inner strife in this order. And so according to the academic A. Butler, said all sorts of respectable men and women were dabbling in dubious pastimes such as ritual magic and attempting to communicate with the dead. And especially in that time, that was very popular. You know, it was late 19th century. So here's what I want to talk about here. Now, this is something known as the cipher manuscripts. So how did the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn begin? It says the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn owes its origin to a single text, the mysterious cipher manuscripts. All right. So the cipher manuscripts were a 56 folio bundle of encoded writings, encrypted encoding writings in black ink on cotton paper. The origin of the ciphers have been debated ever since they came to light in the mid-1880s. In a time when esoteric texts were rare and many books were still printed in small quantities and hand-bound, it was common for documents to be shared among like-minded members of the same group and societies. As such, the actual author of the cipher is still unknown, but they came into the possession of one William Wynne Westcott, a Freemason and member of the Society of the Rosicrucians, an esoteric Christian group that practiced mystic rituals. So Westcott would later become one of the founders of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. So Westcott and Mathers are the ones who founded the Golden Dawn. Westcott was a member of the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians, who obtained these documents known as the cipher manuscripts. And Westcott went about decoding the cipher manuscripts, which were written in English, but coded from left to right using a cryptogram. So the decoded cipher manuscripts that Westcott decoded revealed the skeletal descriptions of a set of magical rituals and occult teachings assembled from a wide range of mystical sources, including Kabbalah, the tarot, and aspects of alchemy. According to Branch, Westcott shared his findings with two other Masons, William Robert Woodman, a police surgeon, and Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers, a member of many Masonic groups who lectured in esoteric systems of thought. So long story short, you had these cipher manuscripts that were encoded, secretly encoded. Westcott decoded them, and they were a description or set of magical rituals and occult teachings assembled from a wide range of mystical sources, including Kabbalah, the tarot, and aspects of alchemy. And again, I want to point out for some people who may be like, this is crazy stuff. Obviously, this is just a bunch of woo-woo. I want you to remember that the incredibly impactful psychologist, Carl Jung, was highly interested in esoteric systems. Carl Jung was highly interested in Gnosticism and alchemy and many other esoteric and occult systems, because Carl Jung realized that these systems were expressing in like encoded form the evolution of the psyche or the evolution of the soul. And Carl Jung has been incredibly influential on the psychology that we have today. If you ever heard the words introvert and extrovert, that came from Carl Jung. Carl Jung popularized the idea of archetypes. I mean, he really is the one who he didn't coin the word archetype, but he introduced the idea of archetypes and the idea of the collective unconscious. And a lot of these ideas, he was highly interested in alchemy and esoteric traditions because he believed that they had basically like a secret message for the transformation of the soul or the psyche. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there for people who may be like, this is a bunch of crazy stuff. We're going to unpack its symbolism to see what it really means, what it's really talking about, because nothing is ever what it seems in this sort of thing. But anyway, so you had Westcott, he decoded this system or set of manuscripts known as the cipher manuscripts, and it had magical rituals and occult teachings within it. And Westcott and Mathers began to construct from the decoded ciphers the rudiments of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, working the rituals and mystical teachings uncovered by Westcott into a curriculum for spiritual improvement and the learning of ritual magic, as well as the study of magical philosophy. Fortune-telling rituals such as tarot card divination and astrology were combined with magical rites that purported to allow for contact with supernatural beings, synthesizing pre-existent magical traditions and producing a modern magical system. On February 12, 1888, Westcott, Woodman, and Mathers signed pledges of fidelity to their new order, the Golden Dawn, thus becoming the founding members. So Westcott, Woodman, and Mathers were the founding members. Westcott was the one who decoded the manuscripts, and Mathers, Westcott and Woodman began to construct from that the system that would become the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Now, there's a couple things that I want to point out here because we're going to explore this in a moment, but I want you to keep in mind the fact that both Westcott and Woodman were Freemasons and members of the Rosicrucian Order, and Mathers was also a member of many Masonic groups. And I'll explain to you why that's important in a moment. But let's see how far All right, so let's talk about this. Potential members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn were recruited by word of mouth. How were they recruited by word of mouth? By pre-existing occult networks and connections already established through Masonic lodges and through the new secret society, also advertised for members in the theosophical journal called Lucifer. I talked a little bit about this before. This theosophical journal known as Lucifer was created by Helena Blavatsky, one of the founders of the Theosophical Society. All right, so all this stuff is very much connected. And there's so much to unpack here that, again, I'm trying to do so in a way. At first, it's going to sound a little crazy, right? It's like that meme of that guy, with the map and all the different, pins in the map and connecting all the different things together. It's gonna seem like that at first, but it actually all comes together into a complete and whole picture. But you will see, like I said, there's a lot of manipulation going on here. So you have these systems that are all sort of interconnected: the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, the Theosophical Society, and the Golden Dawn was a newly formed society formed in 1888 and began recruiting members through Masonic lodges and the theosophical publication known as Lucifer. Like I said, I talked about that a little bit in my video called Satanism versus Luciferianism. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about. All right, I want to talk about the cipher manuscripts because there's a very important point to be had here. But before we talk about the cipher manuscripts, let's get a little bit of a better idea about the Golden Dawn's structure and teachings. Then we're going to go back to the cipher manuscripts and talk about something known as the secret chiefs, which is important to what we're discussing today. So, members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn were primarily interested in magical philosophy and traditional ritual practice for the advancement of the individual's spirit. Remember what I told you is high magic, ceremonial magic is about transformation of the soul, transformation of the self, evolution of the soul, evolution of the self, connecting to the divine. And yes, a lot of these societies are also about transforming the world as well. So self-transformation, world transformation. And there's nothing wrong with that if it's done in a benevolent way. But like I have said before, in my opinion, the very structure of secret societies and the fact that they require secrecy leads to a lot of manipulation and attracting the wrong kind of people. We'll break that down. But so members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn were interested in magical philosophy, ritual practice for the purpose of transforming the spirit. And the curriculum created by William Wynne Westcott and his fellow founders centered principally on leading members through the scholarly study of symbols and rituals that would help them attain a higher level of spiritual being through natural magic. And I'm really tempted to want to explain to you how this works and what those symbols are and how all of this actually does so. But like I said, I think I want to save that for later, because right now I just want to give a foundation of how it was established and how the system worked and things we need to watch out for and be careful of. So the outer order, this was composed this is how it was structured. The outer order comprised the first 3 levels of the curriculum, focusing on the use of tarot and other forms of divination, such as geomancy, outlined in the ciphers. Inductees were taught to use these tools for spiritual development, while each level also involved the in-depth study of the symbolic meaning and metaphysical character of each classical element: earth, air, fire, and water. Each level followed by a written examination similar to a school test. According to Branch, the inner order was the creation of founder member Samuel Mathers, who became established as the exclusive group's leader. So Mathers, and whenever you hear Golden Dawn, you're going to hear a lot about Mathers, because McGregory Mathers, because he was extremely influential on the group. So Mathers named the order the Ruby Rose and the Cross of Gold. And among this group of adepts, members would experiment with ritual magic to accomplish such feats as astral projection and scrying, the summoning of visions. Inner order members also tutored new recruits and could recommend new inductees. But now we're going to talk a little bit about something known as the secret chiefs. And I'm wondering, you know what, before we talk about the secret chiefs and the cipher manuscripts, actually, I want to touch on something else. And that is the Golden Dawn's huge popularity, because I think it's important to realize how influential it was. And that this wasn't just a bunch of crazy people in their basement, cosplaying or something. So it says the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn hit its peak in the middle of the 1890s, where among its hundreds of members were counted a number of key figures in Victorian society, all interested in the occult for the purpose of spiritual betterment and the pseudoscientific exploration of the nature of the world and humanity's role in it. Notable writers such as the poet W.B. Yeats and Welsh fantasy horror writer Arthur Machen joined in rituals and mystical studies, with the leading West End actress Florence Farr and A.E. Waite, the co-creator of the classic tarot deck known today, and of course Aleister Crowley, the writer and eventual creator of a new religion known as Thelema. And Aleister Crowley was a very controversial figure in the Golden Dawn. He ended up leaving to create his own order and own religion. The religion he created was known as Thelema, and his own order, that still exists today, is known as the Ordo Templi Orientis, or Order of the Eastern Templars. So the difference between the Golden Dawn and other esoteric groups of the time was the secret society's admission of women as members. Only men could be Freemasons, for example. And the Golden Dawn's comparatively progressive leanings, with rules derived in part from the cipher manuscripts, lent their gatherings the feel of a social event, while many of the rituals created an atmosphere of playful titillation. So, around this time, Samuel Mathers claimed to have received instruction from the secret chiefs for the syllabus of a third level of learning involving alchemy and spiritual sexuality. Oh, there's so much to unpack here, and I really have to restrain myself. So, at the height of his popularity, Samuel Mathers claimed to receive instructions from this group known as the Secret Chiefs for the syllabus of a third level to the order, which involved alchemy and spiritual sexuality. And you might wonder, well, hold on a minute. These things kind of seem unrelated, but they're not. What ultimately is spiritual sexuality? It's about the unification of opposites, the coming together of opposites. And that is the same thing that alchemy is about. Alchemy is about transforming the self or the soul from a base state to a purified divine state. And one of the highest aspects of alchemy is combining opposites together to create that pure state. So alchemy, the combination of alchemy, the combination of opposites, is similar to spiritual sexuality, the synthesis of masculine and feminine energy. So, but okay, what's this idea of the secret chiefs? I keep saying like we're going to talk about that, but then I see something else I want to discuss first because I think it would be important for context. So, okay, before that, let's talk a little bit about Aleister Crowley. So Aleister Crowley is one of the most famous or notorious members of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. His controversial membership and behavior within the group would have grave ramifications for the survival of the order and the position of its leader, Samuel Mathers. Crowley, who would one day be described as the wickedest man in the world, who also called himself, by the way, Tu Megatherion, the great beast 666. He joined the Golden Dawn in 1898 and would later boast of his rapid progression through the outer levels of its occult curriculum. Crowley's interest in the occult was, to say the least, unconventional, a way of subverting the fundamentalist Christianity that dominated his childhood. As a child, Crowley's mother had called him the Beast. Crowley struck up a close friendship with Mathers, who attempted to initiate the young occultist into the inner order later that same year, but was refused by the other members who were suspicious of Crowley. Mathers decided to force the issue in 1900 by inducting Crowley into the inner order, and it was a decision that would signal the end of Mathers' leadership of the Golden Dawn as the order descended into a bitter revolt. Years later, Crowley would critically undermine the order by publishing their secrets in his magazine. That is something that could be debated as well, but okay, still more important stuff here. And it has to do with Aleister Crowley. So Aleister Crowley had long been a concern among the order's members, especially those in London, and were also frustrated by Mathers' position as intermediary between them and the supposed secret chiefs who he claimed to be in contact. I keep mentioning those because we need to come back to that. That's an important aspect. So Crowley enraged the London Temple by announcing his induction into the inner order and demanding the esoteric documents to which he was now supposedly entitled. Florence Farr, who had already stated she thought the temple should be closed down, resigned, and as infighting grew, Mathers came to suspect the involvement of William Wynne Westcott, who he believed was attempting to reclaim control of the order. Notice, by the way, a lot of this power struggle here going on. And in my opinion, this is another negative aspect of secret orders. It attracts people who want power and control. Mathers reacted by writing a letter claiming that blah, 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 that's not important. Mathers attempted to smear. Let's see. I just want to see what's important here. They just ended up breaking up into different groups. And so Crowley was highly instrumental in the downfall of the Golden Dawn. So that's kind of a very, very quick and broad overview. But let's talk about now the cipher manuscripts and the secret chiefs. Okay, so what are the secret chiefs? So the founders of the Golden Dawn referred not only to the authority of a mysterious figure known as Anna Sprengel. They claimed that the order was guarded in part. All right, this is important. So they claimed the order was guided in part by the concealed rulers of the wisdom of the true Rosicrucian magic of light, beings known to the members of the order as the secret chiefs. The secret chiefs were kept a mystery to the outer orders, and contact with them could only be made by the highest ranking adepts within the lodge. Samuel Mathers, who had been instrumental in setting up new Golden Dawn temples around the country, and also in Paris, made the timely announcement that he had been in contact with the secret chiefs. Many at the time believed that the secret chiefs were alchemists whose lineage began in ancient Egypt. Indeed, many of the Golden Dawn's rituals involved the invocation of Egyptian gods, such as Horus. But Mathers worked to suggest that the secret chiefs were themselves otherworldly, disembodied beings, and positioned himself as the intermediary between the chiefs and the order. So, Mathers is saying, hey, there are these secret, disembodied, ascended masters known as the secret chiefs. And I have contact with these guys. And they are telling me how we should run things, how we should do things. And I am the intermediary between the chiefs and the operation of the order. So we have a couple different things here that are giving authority to this order. That is the discovery of these cipher manuscripts, the decoding of these cipher manuscripts, and the supposed contact with otherworldly beings known as secret chiefs. But here's the thing. The origin of the cipher manuscripts were unverified, and rumors abound that the work was the creation of one of the occultists with whom William Wynne Westcott had claimed to receive it, or was a forgery by Westcott himself. So what this means here is that the cipher manuscripts are highly suspects. We don't know the true origin of them. And some people think that they were just created by Westcott, that he made them up. And we have a couple different elements that I want you to consider here. We have the fact that Westcott, Woodman were members of they were Freemasons, they were Rosicrucians. Mathers was a member of many Masonic lodges, etc. We have these supposed documents, these mysterious documents that were translated as the structure to contribute to the structure of the order. And then Mathers claimed to be in contact with secret chiefs, giving him information on how to run things. Now, I want you to notice, and the reason I'm bringing this up is this is a very common tactic done in secret societies because it gives authority. If you are just like, hey, guess what? I have an idea. I believe we should do things this way, and I'm going to start this order. It's a lot less powerful, psychologically speaking, than to be like, for example, the secret chiefs told me blah, blah, blah. Or I found these secret ancient documents that reveal, etc. Or I had a vision from God. Because this is very a common tactic in religion as well. I had a vision from God, and this is what God said. So you'll notice this is very similar. This discovering of secret manuscripts, decoding it, having contact with secret beings, otherworldly beings, very similar to the founding of Mormonism. So Joseph Smith founded Mormonism. He eventually became a Freemason, and a lot of his family were Freemasons. And if you look at Mormonism, there is a ton of Masonic symbolism and influence in Mormonism. And how was Mormonism created? Well, Joseph Smith apparently found these golden plates in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics that he decoded, which became the Book of Mormon, because the angel Moroni guided him to them. But we don't have them today because he had to give the plates back or something like that. So notice that common theme. Again, being connected to Masonry, secret documents, secret plates, Egyptian hieroglyphs, contact with an otherworldly being. This is, again, another really clear example of this is the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth were apparently discovered by this guy named Maurice Doreal, who said that he found them. He found these emerald tablets in this indestructible, otherworldly material, and that it was inscribed with ancient Atlantean language that communicated with his mind. And he wrote it all down. He translated it all. And he had to give them back to who? Entities known as the Great White Brotherhood, who were apparently ascended masters. Again, same sort of thing, same sort of idea. So you have the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and the Great White Brotherhood. You have the, golden plates and the Angel Moroni in terms of Mormonism. And you have these cipher manuscripts and the secret chiefs here in terms of the Golden Dawn. And Maurice was I don't know if I don't think I've ever seen anything that said that he was a Freemason, but if you look at the things that he said, I would almost be sure that he was a member of the Freemasons, or else had a ton of knowledge about Freemasonry, because when you read this stuff and look at this stuff, you can catch the words used and the things that are mentioned and referenced, because they use the same language, they use the same lingo, they use the same words. So Mathers was claiming to be in contact with these beings known as the secret chiefs. And so you can see here that later, when we explore the different rituals and the actual magic of the Golden Dawn, we're going to see there's some good stuff there. But was this cipher manuscript legit? Probably not. Was Mathers in contact with otherworldly beings known as the secret chiefs? I mean, anything is possible, but no. I would not bet, a very high sum that he was. I would bet a very high sum that he was not in contact with other beings, because it's such a common tactic across religion, across secret societies, to make these sort of claims to add legitimacy to your order, to be like, oh well, this was an expression of the divine here on earth, which it can be, but not because of secret chiefs, because we all are inherently divine. So when we dive into this occult stuff, we have to be careful, because we know that these people who founded these orders were very smart and very manipulative. And if they are manipulative enough to, concoct these cipher manuscripts and, say they're in contact with secret chiefs or whatever, you can be sure that they also embedded manipulative tactics like in their teachings as well. Now, how much is there and what is and what isn't, that's debatable. But this is one of the reasons why when people are like, oh, what books on the occult do you recommend? What system should I study? I'm very hesitant to recommend anything, except there's a couple that are decent. There's some that are really good. But overall, I'm always hesitant when it comes to like this older stuff, because there is so much manipulation embedded within it. And this is why I'd like to, talk about it with you guys on my channel here, so that we can go through it and spot the useful elements and separate it from the manipulative aspects, because you have to be careful. This sort of stuff can become brainwashing. They can brainwash you, because you're doing these rituals every single day over and over, and you're embedding this information. It's essentially, it can become brainwashing. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful with what it is that you're putting in your mind, where it's coming from, what the results are, what you're believing. And so this is where, when it comes to this sort of stuff, there are powerful elements that can be helpful in it. And by understanding it, we can understand more about ourselves and more about how reality works and how to communicate through archetypal symbolism, which is very powerful for connecting to the unconscious, because your unconscious communicates in symbols, as psychologist Carl Jung very much knew. And so understanding systems of magic is like working with a archetypal language, where you can begin to communicate with your inner self, your higher self, your archetypal patterns that exist within you. But we have to be very, very careful, because there is a ton of manipulation that goes on with secret societies and orders, and a lot of them go out and try and start religions or manipulative systems, and they may have good intentions in mind, but in my opinion, inherently within a structure of a secret society, if it's not necessary, if you're not being persecuted, there's no reason for it, and it only creates a shadowy system where where manipulation can occur. People will go because they want power, they want secrets, and then it completely skews the whole point of the system. And a lot of people who aren't of the right state of mind end up getting a lot of power. It's just a lot of mess. And so I can't stress enough that one has to use a lot of caution with this stuff. Like, I seriously, no joke, I can't stress it enough. You have to be very, very careful with this kind of stuff. And, just case in point, like the Golden Dawn disbanded, I forget, in the very early 1900s, exactly when. But for example, there are a lot of systems out there today that call themselves the Order of the Golden Dawn. They're not the original Order of the Golden Dawn. And I'll tell you, there are some out there that are very scammy, like extremely scammy, like they just exist to take your money. There are some. Now, I'm not pointing out anyone specifically. I don't want to do that. But I will say that there are some out there that, in my opinion, are very scammy, incredibly so. And you have to be very careful. And some of these systems will still claim to be like, oh yeah, we're in contact with the secret chiefs. No, they're not. They're not in contact with the secret chiefs. They're just using that as a tool. So this is my opinion, of course, but I have a very strong opinion on this because, the whole thing, I'm an ex-Christian. I got out of Christianity because of all the bullshit brainwashing in there. And so it's really, sad to me when I see people being taken in by these other systems that can be very brainwashy. So this is an overview of like how the Golden Dawn started, very, very brief overview of how it started, its structure, its downfall, etc. And honestly, to me, this is the least interesting part of it. I don't really care about this stuff on it. Like, I don't really care. What I care about is the actual teachings, the actual magic, the actual ceremonies, the actual rituals, and what we can learn from them. And so that's what I want to know from you guys. Do you guys want to see that? Because if you do, that is what we will begin doing. And that's the stuff I'm really interested in. That's the stuff that I think is actually very applicable and powerful to understand how this stuff actually works, what it actually means. So tell me, I want to know, tell me in the comments if you want to actually start engaging with and understanding the actual system, let me know, and we will do that. But I'm very curious about your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I have a ton of other videos. Perhaps if you're interested in this sort of thing, check out my playlist on Satanism versus Luciferianism, because I think that would help in kind of beginning to understand these sorts of ideas if you are new to them. There's a ton of videos on my channel. And as always, check out my new book. Begin with this one, Neogenesis, Dawn of the New Mind. And, that's one of the things with my books, by the way, in the Neogenian system, is about allowing you to have access to information that will transform your mind without all the goddamn bullshit, man. Like, I'm just so sick of it. Anyway, I'm very passionate about it because it's very reminiscent to me of my Christian upbringing, and that triggers my RTS, and I really don't like that. Anyway, check out my books. Links in the description. If you enjoy my work and you want to help me reach more people with this information, become a member on YouTube or on Patreon. Hit the button, join right below this video to see all the perks you can get access to. And I want to give a big shout out to everyone who supports. I appreciate it very much, especially Renaissance Fairy, Cassidy, Angela, DB, Nusalina, Christopher, Eon, Vanessa, and Dallas. I think there are a couple names I have to add to this. So sorry if this isn't updated yet. I will be doing that very soon. But anyway, thank you very much.